My pregnancy was just so dark. I suddenly had to give up cocaine and alcohol, everything I was addicted to and had been an addict for a decade. I was so driven by this need to change my life. I actually think there is nothing more powerful than a mum.
Roxie Nafousi, best-selling author, motivational speaker, and mother.
Confidence is the foundation of everything that we do. We can only manifest what we believe we are worthy of receiving.
She shares her 8 steps to confidence.
Breaking free from comparison, celebrating yourself. The one that people struggle with the most is
Self-worth.
a belief is just a thought that's been repeated so many times that it becomes so. I'm not good with people, good things don't happen to me. Everything we experience will be viewed through that lens. And so it's really important to become...
And the reality of becoming a mother while building her brand from scratch.
There was absolutely no balance. I sacrificed a lot of weekends with Wolf.
Have you ever felt any guilt?
My role in life is to lead him in the best way. Do I need to be with him 24/7 for that to happen? Absolutely not.
Roxie, hi. Thank you so much for joining me on CEO Mum.
Oh, thank you.
Such a pleasure to have you here today. You've been really open about your struggles with addiction and how becoming a mother was also a part of that defining turning point. And you made multiple life changes: sobriety, motherhood, your career, and it was all at once. And now Wolfie's 5.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, nearly 6.
Nearly 6.
Yeah.
Can you take us back to that chapter and tell us how you got the energy and that focus to go 100 miles an hour in those really early transformative years? Like, where did that come from? What did you pull on? What was the focus? Did you have a goal? Did you want 1 million copies sold of Manifest? Did you have an idea of a book?
Yeah. My pregnancy was just so dark. It was like the darkest time of my life. Because when I found out I was pregnant, I suddenly had to give up all like cocaine and cigarettes and alcohol, everything I was addicted to and had been an addict for a decade. So, all this pain came rushing out, and I turned to food, and I didn't leave the house, and I went into it was just the darkest depression of my life. And I think that it was so dark and so painful, and it was such a struggle for me every day that I was so determined that when I had this baby, I would change my life and I would never go back to that place. And I think that it wasn't even so much a drive towards something as much as it was just a drive away from it. Like, I just wanted to get out of that space. It was like a mental prison that I was in, and I just needed to escape. And so I think I was so driven by this need to change my life that I changed every area of it, and I think that was fuel for me. And I found a purpose. I found something that I felt I was good at, and that was actually like being of service to other people. And that's why be of service is one of my foundational steps to confidence, because I think that it's so important for us to feel of value to others and to be able to give other people something in some way.
But how do you sustain that momentum and that energy of pouring into your children, your child, and a business? Does giving back help with that process?
I think so, but I think it's also normal for momentum to come and go. And I think it's really like, at the moment, I was just with my team before this having lunch, and I was like, I've got zero momentum. I've got zero goals I'm working towards. We've just, at the end of the last book launch, we kind of go 100 miles an hour from September to May, basically. And now I'm like, get me on fucking holiday. I've got no momentum. I've got nothing. I just want to chill.
Yeah.
So, I think it's just natural for momentum to go. And that's just your body's way of being like, take some reset, allow yourself to get inspired again, and then it will come back. I think it ebbs and flows. I think having momentum every day is hard to sustain, and also just tough on the body to be always at 100 miles an hour.
Definitely. And I know that, the first years with my twins, I was definitely, the momentum was survival mode, and it was very much like you had to go because you're having to feed them, and it's the constant waking up around the clock. Do you have any practical tips on preventing burnout or recognizing that you are reaching a point where that could be possible?
I think irritability is a really good sign of when you're starting to burn out, when things just start to frustrate you more than usual, or you're feeling more, just more easily irritated. anything you can do to calm your nervous system. That's like, for me, number one. So stretching, meditation, breath work, journaling, making sure you're winding down properly before bed, reading, not scrolling, lights off early enough, eating food that fuels you and makes you feel good, nature. I mean, all the basics. But I think, like, I did a resilience retreat recently with a group of amazing women, all founders. And I did we'd gone for a walk in the morning, me and a few of them. And I was like, guys, oh, this is so nice. Got the sea. I was like, let's just stop and like breathe for like 3 minutes. And I just honestly, it was a 3-minute meditation. And all of them were like, I don't remember the last time I did that. Just stop, just for a few minutes of stillness. Like, we actually don't do it, but it's so healing and incredible when you just remember to just stop just for a few minutes.
I need to set alarms to tell me to stop.
Yes.
That's how bad it is, which is a problem. I want to speak about self-worth being the foundation of confidence and how your understanding of your own self-worth has changed since becoming a mum.
I think that being a mum has given me the best version of myself. Like like when everyone that we're with, we're a different version of who we are. And my favorite me is me as a mum. Like, that's when I am the most patient. Like, I didn't realize I was a patient person until I became a mum. And I'm the softest and the most playful, and I'm more feminine. I think because at work I'm in my masculine energy a lot. It's so nice to be in my feminine, and I love who I am with him. And I think what's so beautiful about a relationship with your child is they love you just for who you are, not for what you are or what you look like or anything else. It's just such a pure love that's two ways. So I think I find it very healing. And so I think that's absolutely built my self-worth from such a deep place.
How does your day differ now to when Wolf was a baby?
Well, it's so interesting because I think I started my career when Wolf was like 5 months. So I started really early on, but I'm really fortunate that Wade is an actor. So he wasn't working for many years. Now, we didn't have any family in the UK. So neither of us, we didn't have any family in London, and Wade's family were in Australia. So we didn't have any help, and we chose not to have any nannies or anything like that until he was at school. So we didn't have that kind of external support, but Wade was very hands-on because he wasn't working very often because he was an actor. So I was quite lucky in the sense that in the first few years, Wade, when I was working, he would support. And then we obviously had COVID when Wolf was 10 months. So it was kind of like I was working a lot at home, but Wade was around. Yeah. We were all together, so it was fine. And then, in September last year, Wade's worked throughout, but he'll have like 2 weeks away, a month away, and I'll do it on my own. And I just kind of love it. And I think it's I'm happy. Like, I didn't travel for 6 months because it was his turn to have his travel time. So it kind of ebbs and flows between us on who takes the kind of like extra time, but it's
when I first became pregnant and started doing my research, I still had no idea of how much care responsibilities would mean. If I wasn't caring, it would be someone else, especially in those early days. So I always like to ask the question of what that setup in the early days was like. Even at 5, we talk about coming home to the second shift. Women still, for all the reasons, tend to still take on the mental load, the invisible load. How do you manage that whilst also building your brand?
I definitely get so much easier. I think like the difference between like a toddler and like a 4-year-old even, or 5, like it really is incomparable. In my experience, I find Wolf like, it's so different. It is so much easier. Like, my God, just because you don't have to like watch them every single second, and they are so much more independent. And but I think that I see Wolf as my antidote to work. So I think it was more of it's maybe more of a perspective shift in my experience. And I know that's not for everyone, but I think for me, I enjoy work because when I'm with him, I switch off and I get to like play and be wholesome. And I love being able to like spend weekends going to the park and going to like, the thing that I love about kids the most is like they put you in a state of wonder. And wonder is like a form of gratitude. It's really high vibrational. For me, it's like part of the whole manifesting process. And when I take, let's say I take Wolf and my nephew is like his best friend, to the museum, I am obsessed with watching them be like, oh my God. But me as well, I'm like, I can't believe dinosaurs existed this long ago. Or I always, whenever we read now, I read a lot of like fact books. And you're constantly amazed, like things that you forget to do as a grown-up. Now I'm like, oh my God, can you believe that ants do that? Yeah. Or like, you're constantly in a state of wonder. So I find it quite therapeutic, I would say.
I'd love to know how your support systems have evolved since you started your journey, and what part of your support system made the biggest difference.
Yeah.
You mentioned Wade was there at the start.
Yeah.
That was really pivotal for long times.
Yeah.
Has it evolved?
So we put Wolf in full-time nursery from 1, like he was just 1. So that really helped, obviously. And there's no like school holidays. So it was like all the time. So that was amazing. That was, I mean, it's just so expensive, but it was obviously incredibly beneficial for us. Then when he started school, we found a family friend and she helped do school pickup and does 2 hours after school. So that has been really helpful for us. And she does the odd babysitting night. But actually, like the best thing that we ever did was probably get him on the school bus.
That's so cute and just adorable to think about.
It's so, he's the youngest in the whole, like on the whole bus, because we live half an hour away from school. So it was like an hour journey in the mornings, which I just cannot get. And when Wade was away working, I was like, I can't be starting my day at 9 o'clock. Like it's just not feasible. And so getting him on the school bus means I'm done by 8 in the morning. He absolutely loves it with all the older kids. He's having the best time. And finding that has been like an amazing help for us.
Every parent has individual setups and practical advice and tips and approaches. And I didn't even know we had school buses in the UK. I always think of it as like the yellow school bus in the US. So that's really good to know. I know it's probably very different week to week, but what's a typical day in your life look like?
Well, usually I wake up early and Wolf's up at 10-15 minutes after me. He still sleeps in my bed, so he wakes me up. And then it's just getting him ready for school. So then I'm home by 8:15, and then I start my day, and then I'm back home, and by usually 5, and then it's dinner, bath, bed, and then, all the same, and then again the next day. And sometimes I'm going, if I've got an event in the evening and stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's like anyone else. And I think it's so interesting because I only have one kid. I always think it's so easy because I'm like, he's a really easy, like relaxed kid. Like I love being around him. And I only have one. So I always think like, I can't complain. It's so easy. But then Wade took him to Australia for 2 weeks recently. And I had sort of 5 days in London without him there. And I was like, oh my God, life is so different without a kid.
Yeah.
Like the time you have, like waking up, not suddenly rushing around and like going home after work and not having to do another job. Yeah. Even though it's enjoyable, you do realize it is a lot, but I found it so boring and I hated it and I just wanted to come back. So, but it did remind me to give myself a bit more compassion as to why I might be exhausted or overwhelmed, and actually, even though you enjoy it, it still is a big thing.
What is your approach to structuring your time and, more importantly, your energy?
For me personally, again, it's only my experience, I think that it depends where you're at. So in the first few years of my career, there was absolutely no balance. I worked like a fucking dog, day in, day out, every weekend, every evening, emailing the minute I went to bed. Like I was just in it. And I remember my brother being like, these are the donkey years. And to be honest, I think if you're starting something that you're really passionate about in your beginning, you want to do that because you want to give it everything. And I did. And when I was writing my books, yes, I sacrificed a lot of weekends with Wolf because I would have to go off and work and write because I had deadlines. And then I think I started to find I just started to like feel not good about that at some point. I was really burnt out because I was still trying to give a lot of, obviously, all my energy to Wolf. Like I'm obsessed with him. But every minute in between, and I was just not in a good space. Mentally, I was more irritable at work. I just was exhausted. And then I found really healthy boundaries that worked for me. But I also realized I was at a point in my career where I could take my foot off the gas a bit. So I never worked after 6 p.m., for example. I don't work on weekends unless I've got an event anymore. But then there might be a time where, like when I was writing Confidence, I went back to weekend writing. So I think it's about figuring out what is your priority at that moment. I don't regret prioritizing my career at the beginning because Wade was around. He was like so hands-on. I had support from him. It's not like Wolf was left. And I was building a future for me and my son. So that was important. So I don't regret it. But then there came a time where I wanted to like change the balance. And now I feel like in a very good place with it.
You know, it's really nice that Wade had that bonding time at the start when a lot of men don't get paternity leave and they have to go back to the office.
He always says how grateful he is for that.
It's such a unique experience. Yeah. And then obviously with COVID, etc. When did you get to a point when you realized, actually, I feel confident now? Like, I'm not talking about the book confident, but confident in my career to know that I've put in the groundwork, I've done enough, I've got my foot in the door. Was it the amount of books you sold or the amount of followers you had? How did you measure that growth?
Oh my God, good question. Probably by the end of 2023, I remember people would keep asking me, what are you manifesting in 2024? And I was like, I'm really just good where I am. Like, I didn't feel like this crazy need to like keep making new goals. I felt like, wow, I've changed my life so much in the last, but by then it was like only the last 4 years or something. I was like, I'm really living a life that I never thought would be possible. And I felt so like content with that. I didn't feel this need to like work at extremes. And then I would say, once I hit 1 million copies of Manifest sold, I didn't think it would, but it did have a massive impact on me. And I remember I was like saying yes to all this stuff. And I was like, I don't need to do this anymore. Like, I've got it out there. I've done what I wanted to do with this book. Now it's taking life on its own. I don't need to keep pushing. And it was so liberating. And I didn't expect it. I was so proud of the achievement, but I didn't expect it to have that impact. But actually, I realized that it gave me I gave permission to myself to just like take a minute and step back a bit.
I know that at the start of building a career, they talk about it like a rocket launch. You need to build that compound momentum for it to then get off the ground. So you do put in that groundwork at the start. And I know that from, I say, chapter 1 of my career, when I was like one of the first plus size models in the UK and it wasn't a thing. And I worked my butt off to a point where it became more commercial and it was acceptable. And then I was getting booked on more jobs, et cetera, et cetera. How do you transition from working at 100 miles an hour to giving yourself that permission and acceptance to slow down?
I really think that rest is so productive, and the best thing I've done for myself is learn how to like calm my nervous system down. So I really I don't actually have any trouble switching to chill time. So when I put Wolf to bed at 7, I am in bed with him every night. Like, I'm done. Are
you sleeping or are you
unwinding? I've got my Kindle, I read. Okay. I'm asleep by 8:30 or 9. I would say 50% of the evenings, but never later than 10. Do you know what I mean? I don't have any problem with winding down because I know how important it is. But also I do a lot of yin yoga. I do sound baths, for half an hour in the day if I've got time, or on the weekends or whatever. So I feel like I know how important rest is. And so I've kind of taught myself, even daily meditation practices, I've taught myself how to slip into it easily.
Okay.
And I see it as, I think a lot of people have guilt around rest, and I'm like, oh my God, rest is so good for you.
And when it comes to your ambition and being a mother, they're very two big full-on mountains and jobs and roles and responsibilities. Have you ever felt any guilt towards taking time to focus on your business? I know that it sounds like you have a really good rhythm and way of identifying when you have time to stop and you've reached the goals.
Yeah.
But does guilt ever creep in at all?
No. My role in life is not only to be a mum. I want to be an incredible mum, but he's also happy with his dad. Do you know what I mean? It's not like he's not, and Wolf is happy. And I think that my role in life is to lead him in the best way possible and nurture him to become the best version of him that he can be. Do I need to be with him 24/7 for that to happen? Absolutely not. He needs to learn from lots of different people. He needs to learn from nursery. He needs to learn from his dad. He needs to explore all the different sides of him. He's only one side of him with me. So actually him being with me 24/7 wouldn't be good for him either, I don't think, not to be able to be the fullest version of himself. And I also think that I'm so proud that I'm showing him a strong, independent, hardworking woman. Like he was playing like mums and dads with his cousin, and his cousin was going, Sophia, she was going, okay, daddy's going to work now. And he was like, so's mummy. And I loved that. And I was like, the gender roles are not there for him. And he's so proud. Like you can see, like, you know, he's like, oh, mummy, did you go on stage? And, you know, he wanted to come with me on stage. And, you know, he joined in on my work, and he loves coming to the office with me and being with the girls. And if I do events, he's backstage. Like he loves it as well. And I'm providing a life for him. And, you know, I couldn't do that if I was not working.
I want to switch gears and talk about Confidence, your latest book.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's Confidence, 8 Steps to Knowing Your Worth. It's just been released. What inspired you to write this one, and how does it differ or build upon your previous books?
So I think that confidence is the foundation of everything that we do. And I've been teaching manifest for my manifestation practice for a number of years now. And really what I keep coming back to is that at the core of manifestation is your self-worth, because we can only manifest what we believe we are worthy of receiving. But this is the part that I think is the hardest for most people. So step 2 of my manifesting process is remove fear and doubt. And it's about taking away the limiting beliefs or insecurities and those feelings of low self-worth that are blocking you from creating the life that you really desire. For me, it was such a natural step to create a book that was all about that, about how to step into our power and unlock our potential. And, you know, I think that a lack of confidence is such a universal problem. I think it's something that every single one of us experiences in some area of our life and to varying extents. But we always think that the person next to us isn't going through it.
Oh yeah,
like
all the time.
Anyone we look at, we just assume that they are confident and we are the ones that aren't. And it's just not the case. And what I've learned through my work is that every single one of us is battling these inner demons. And so I went on my own personal mission. I mean, I had the most horrendous self-loathing. You know, I've really never, ever liked myself, even like an ounce. It was so debilitating for me and stopped me flourishing in every area of my life. And even when I started manifesting, that was the thing for me that I was still struggling with. So
I was going to say, because the kind of the journey you've been on, confidence has definitely been something that you ooze now.
It's similar to manifest. Like when I did my 7-step guide to manifesting, what I would keep saying was this is like a life practice. So you do all the 7 steps. And it's the same with confidence. So, you know, confidence is, you know, it's about mastering your thoughts. It's about acting with intention, which is changing the way that you behave. It's about breaking free from comparison, celebrating yourself. Stop trying to be liked by everyone. Be of service and show up as your best self. And so every single one of them is actually like such a foundational block to the confidence process. So I think I was working on all of them at different times, but simultaneously, if that makes sense. But I think the one that people tend to struggle with the most is either master your thoughts, because changing that internal narrative takes some quite deep work, and then the stop trying to be liked by everyone.
I learned that step from going into castings, looking like another, like 10, 20 other size 16 curvy brunettes and being like, well, you can't be liked by everyone. So you have to just let go of whatever their reaction is or what they think and separate yourself from them and their opinions. What would you advise for people that are feeling that?
So I obviously give lots of kind of different tips in the book, but for me, the kind of core of it is this understanding that nobody in the universe is universally liked. So there is not one person that is liked by everyone. And I always say to people, like, think of someone that you admire or respect. There are lots of people who will share the same view as you, but there will be just as many who don't like them or don't vibe with them. And then on the other hand, think about friends of yours, that you love and adore. There will be other friends of yours that are like, I don't see it. Like, I don't get what you like so much about that person. You know what I mean? And so that's one thing, is that nobody is liked by everyone. And when we can realize that, I think it's so liberating. It's like a breath of fresh air. It's like, oh my God, yeah. And I can't please everyone anyway. So I might as well just be the best me that I can be.
How do you keep coming home to that belief and really truly embody it? Is it doing all of the 8 steps, or is there something that is your first go-to tool that you pull on?
I mean, I think for me that is just a whole perspective shift. So once you realize no one can be liked by everyone, you can't unknow that. And so for me, it was like a penny drop moment. But then there were other things to add on to that to help. So I started thinking of people as energy rather than as just people with traits. So, we meet so many people in our lives, and aren't there just a handful that we just instantly connect with?
And you don't know why. Yeah.
You can't explain why. You might even have a partner, you're like, we are so different, but we just have this connection. Or a best friend who's like a soul sister, and you don't know why, but you just connect. And to me, that's energy. And so then when there are people you don't vibe with, or people that don't like you, or you go on a date and they don't call you back, it feels so much less personal when you're like, we just didn't vibe energetically, and that's it. And you don't make it a bigger thing than it is.
Yeah. You've touched upon a few of the 8 steps. Could you talk us through those and give us a little whistle-stop tour of what those 8 steps are?
Okay, so step 1 is master your thoughts. So our belief system sort of determines our whole experience of reality. So our beliefs are like the lens through which we view the whole world. And so if we have beliefs about ourselves that are limiting, such as I'm not good with people, good things don't happen to me, I'm not smart enough, whatever it is, everything we experience will be viewed through that lens. And so we'll be constantly finding evidence to support that. But if we have a belief that we are lovable, we are worthy of abundance, we are good at what we do, life is going to work out for us, then we'll constantly find evidence to support that truth, and it will become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Now, a belief is just a thought that's been repeated so many times that it becomes so. And so it's really important to become acutely aware of what our inner narrative is and what our inner voice is. And I sometimes describe it like this. So imagine, I have this section in the book called the inner heckler versus the inner cheerleader. And I describe a comedian coming on stage. The comedian goes on stage and he's giving his set and he's being heckled by the audience. They're like throwing things at him. They're saying he's no good or she's no good. If you were that comedian on stage, you would feel self-conscious. You would be unable to perform at your best because you're being heckled. And yet, if you went on stage and the audience are laughing and cheering and encouraging you, then you are going to perform better because you will feel more confident. Now, inside our minds, we are heckling ourselves. We're going into an important meeting and we're going to mess it up. Why do you think you're capable of this? Or overanalyzing what your behavior or the things you said or the things that you did. And so I think it's really important to be able to find when we're doing that to ourselves and change that to the voice of an inner cheerleader. And little practices and tools like that can help us to reprogram what we think and therefore start to form new beliefs about ourselves.
I know at certain times of the month, my inner heckler is louder than others. Do you have any thoughts on how hormones can affect your confidence?
Oh my God. I mean, for a week before I'm due, I really struggle. My face changes shape. I feel so anxious. I mean, I just don't feel good. What I have learned is to check out of those feelings. Okay. And I think it's just about not applying too much meaning to it, and also track your cycle. I cannot understand people that are not tracking their cycles. Your hormones are changing the way you think so much.
I thought I was going crazy once a month and didn't really connect the dots until later on in my 20s.
Whereas if you track it, at least you're able to be like, you know what? This is not me. This is my hormones. I am just going to give myself time to come out of this funk, because I know that it will, and not attach so much meaning. I think I have even one of my sisters, she doesn't track it, and then she's raging and angry, and we're like, are you due on? She's like, no, it's not that. I'm just so annoyed. And then the next day she's like, oh, I got my period. I'm like, oh my God, I can't go through this. Yeah. I can't go through this every month with you. Like, track your cycle.
Yeah. If you weren't in your current business, what would you be doing?
Maybe a fitness instructor.
Any particular activity?
I don't know, I just feel like spin instructors are so motivating.
Yeah. 3 must-haves. It could be an object, skill, mindset to be a thriving mum.
Gratitude practice, a good drawer of snacks, and a good book.
Any particular one come to mind first?
Oh, I'm just about to, we've just started The Big Friendly Giant.
Oh, I love a good classic.
Yeah.
If you could swap roles with any CEO mum, dead or alive, who would that be?
Emma Grede. God, I love her.
She's such a boss. And when Wolf looks back at your life or career, what do you hope that he'll say?
She helped a lot of people.
And lastly, what does being a CEO mum mean to you?
Not putting yourself in a box and allowing yourself to be all the things that you want to be.
For mothers listening that might be in the fog of deep self-doubt, having identity shifts, or starting again, what message would you want them to take away today?
Like, it's so cliche, but nobody prepares you for how life-changing it is to become a parent. And I think that they are 2 different worlds. And I think it's so easy to think, especially at the beginning, you might think, oh God, I just want to be the old me. But like, the old you doesn't exist, but there is a new you waiting ahead of you. And actually try to focus on the person that you're becoming, not the person that you were, but actually the person that you want to become, because everybody's able to step into that version of themselves. And that might be a bit messy in the middle, and there'll be challenges, but really it's just see it as growing pains. And I actually think there is nothing more powerful than a mum. Like, when you are a mum, you suddenly get all this ability to like do a million things. Like, you become so strong, so able, so empowered, and you just need to see that within yourself first, but you will get there.
Roxie, thank you so much for joining me here today. It's a pleasure having you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to CEO Mum. If this conversation resonated, please like and follow the show and share it with a mother who's also carving out her path. I'll see you in the next episode. Until next time. Do you have any practical tips that you live by to stay on top of things, feeling confident, and working on across your business and motherhood?
Just little like routine things that, you know, for example, like people talk a lot about morning routine, and I think as a mum, it's not, you don't have all that like luxury of time, but you can do little things that you can fit in. So for example, you know, I can always fit in my morning coffee and my supplements with some electrolytes. I can do that at the same time as getting my son ready for school, do you know what I mean? Or waking up with him or giving him breakfast. Or, you know, when Wolf was really young and we were in COVID and I needed to move my body for 10 minutes, you know, I wouldn't mind just putting him in front of, you know, Bluey for 10 minutes. Like, it's fine. Yeah. Like, if you need 10 minutes to yourself, like, do what you need to do. I think any little moments that you can just fit in when they're asleep or when they're in the middle of something that allows you to give attention to yourself for a few minutes, take it.